Drum programming is undoubtedly one of the hardest things to get good at as a beginner or intermediate music producer. It took me years of trial and error before I could get consistently great results. In this tutorial, I'm going to share with you everything you need to program amazing drums every time, no matter what genre you work in. I'll be using R&B for the demonstration in the video, but trust me, these tips apply no matter what genre you're working in. It's the foundational concepts that you'll learn in this video that will really help you develop your drum programming skills for years to come. Without further ado, let's get into it. Right. First on the list is sound selection. Now, I've deliberately selected some sounds here that are not going to sound very good to show you the difference that sound selection can make. So we've got some very strange sounding kick, a snare that's very long, kind of housey, and a very housey hi-hat. Now, these drum sounds would be perfect if you're making a old school house song or a genre that calls for sounds of that nature. Like, you could easily use that in a dubstep song. It would sound absolutely fine. It fits. The important thing is to find things that fit for the genre you're making. So if you're making R&B, you want more, maybe sort of slightly more restrained sounds, more live sounding sounds. So I've pulled in some sounds from my Oasis drum kit, which is out now, and they sound like this. Nice little thumpy low sort of kick. Nice live sounding snare, and then another more beefy snare as well to give some variation, and just a nice simple hat. Be really careful with your sound selection. You can really like ruin your beat before you've even started programming anything just by having the wrong sound. So try and get things to fit together. So that brings me to tip number 2, which is try and play in your sounds wherever possible. Even if you don't have a MIDI keyboard, just play stuff in on your laptop keys. That's what I used to do for years when I first started producing. When you play stuff in versus clicking stuff in, when you're playing, you're going to just unlock grooves naturally and pockets naturally that you may not have otherwise found if you were just, clicking stuff in. You're kind of doing it according to what you know about drums rather than just like letting the music guide you and actually just playing stuff where you think stuff should be. So that's my next tip. Let's put that tip into action and get some sort of basic kick and snare pattern in, I think. So we have got a basic kick and snare pattern in, and you can see immediately what I was saying about clicking in versus playing in, because you see in this last measure here, I've got this snare is actually on the 8th note, not on the 4, which, it would standardly be in a backbeat, and it gives you a different feel. I probably never would have thought to do that if I wasn't just sort of playing along to the music and finding what felt natural, or even, sometimes it's just a mistake that sounds good, but, you've played it in, so you just hear it and think, oh, no, that's really cool. A lot of the best stuff I've ever made has been an accident. So we've got this nice little sort of basic kick and snare groove. And see, that snare being early at the end just gives a different feeling to the turnaround, which is really cool and kind of a little bit unique. Now, next up, we'll play in a little hi-hat pattern as well to go with it. Let's go with the hi-hats, come on. Okay, loving that. Now, another thing with the playing in, I'm banging on about this point loads, but it's really important. So another thing about the playing in thing is, you can see here, I've left this sort of third beat blank. Not really intentionally, that's just kind of where I felt the pocket leading me. And I probably would have put a note there if I was just clicking in hi-hats, because, it's very standard. Oh yeah, you place a note on the strong beat, great. So that's another way that you can really unlock better pockets from playing stuff in, because you won't put notes where they don't need to be. And you see that really gets your head nodding, it really gets you grooving, because it's just like a little bit more unexpected than if you're just like, your standard 8th note hi-hat pattern. So, next step is swing and quantization. You can see here that these notes are very off the grid, because when I actually played in these chords, they are very swung chords. Ba-ba. A normal note would just be ba-ba, and then ba-ba is the swing, right? It's a swung 8th note. So, to make the drums match up, if I was to, for instance, grab all of these drums with no swing and quantize them all to the grid really heavily, like this, very boring sounding, and they don't really match the swing. So there's kind of sort of a bit jarring where the chords are playing one sort of rhythm and the drums are actually playing, like, clashing against them. Whereas if I have them, you know, on the swung grid, then matches much better with the chords. And that's where playing stuff in can also come in handy, because if you're playing in swung chords and then you're trying to click in straight drums, you're going to be like, what is going on? Why does this sound so off? Whereas all you really need to do is just play along with it, and you'll naturally get the feeling that you're actually going for when you're playing your chords in. So now we're going to quantization. So with the swing, at least in Studio One, you can actually pull up the swing like this and the grid will change. So you can find out where you're supposed to be at. So I think, where are we? Zoom in a little bit more. We're at about 60% swing. There you go. You see those notes are on the grid? So we're about 60% swing. We will quantize any notes here that aren't on the grid to the grid. Notice I've got my quantized value set at 100% up here, and that's because I'm going to quantize everything to the grid perfectly, like I just did. And then I'm going to humanize those notes so all the notes are a little bit off the grid where I want them to be. Another way you can do that is if your DAW doesn't have a humanization feature, or you just prefer not to work that way, you can just knock this value down a little bit to between about 70 and 80 is usually kind of a sweet spot. And that way, when you've played stuff in, it won't quantize it fully to the grid. So you kind of retain more of the natural feel that you played it in with, which can be really helpful. So as I just mentioned, humanization is the next step in this process. So what I usually like to do with the humanization is I like to keep everything on the downbeat. That's the one. I let that be locked in place and really tight, and that actually massively helps with the groove and the pocket, because you've always got that downbeat coming in on the one. It's a really strong sort of anchor, and then everything else can play around it and be swung around it. So we've got everything that's not on the one highlighted, including the snares, by the way. I find messing with the snares a little bit, really good way of getting extra groove into your beats. So you can see that, and we're going to press Control H to humanize. Now you can see this is doing a little bit of velocity change between -12 and +12. And then the real key thing is why we want this is it's going to move stuff. With the first value, it's moving it a bit in front of the grid, so it'll be a bit early. And then with the latter part, it's moving it a bit behind the grid, so it'll be a bit late. And that variation, press OK, just zoom in so you guys can see. Look, it's just a little bit off the grid. It's not much, nothing crazy, just a little bit. But you see how much feel this is actually going to give you. That's humanized. Unhumanized is like this. Still nice, still swung, but with that humanization that we've just put in there, just sounds so much more like a real human playing it, which is exactly what we want. Okay, the next thing on the list is to adjust the velocities of our offbeats. So just like we humanized everything that was on the offbeats, as in not on the one, right now we're going to take everything that's not on the 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we're going to just drop that in velocity to get more groove. Because if a real drummer plays it, they tend to accent the strong beats. And so again, when we're doing drums like this, we're trying to make it like a real drummer's playing it. So mirroring how their movements are going to be. So when they hit the snare, for instance, and they're doing 2 notes, they'll hit it and then let it bounce off again, and it will create a lower volume. So when you're having an extra hit after, you usually drop it in volume. It sounds a lot more realistic that way. So first off, I'm going to go for the kicks, and we're going to turn those down. So let's just select the offbeat kicks, get these nice and low in volume, just on the offbeats like I mentioned. So here and here, turn all these down nice and far. It's going to sound like this. And then we're going to do the same thing for the hats. Let's get these nice and low. And then with the 16th here, this 1/16 note I played at the end, I'm going to turn that even further down just to get it more in the background. And then just even them up a little bit, turn this one up again. Oh, that's sounding good. That's sounding really good. Okay, next step, ghost note. So you'll notice I played in some pretty basic patterns. That's kind of usually what I go for because I want to accent it later, but you can really add some extra life to it by adding some ghost notes, adding a few fills. So let's get those in, and then we might add some percussion sounds as well. So with the ghost notes, I usually change the grid to the 16th, similar amount of swing, and then it's kind of just a matter of, I usually click these in. It's usually just a matter of sort of finding a nice little place, finding a nice little pocket where something could work. So just play through it. So I'm hearing there, so I'm hearing a little pickup note with the kick maybe. Let's just try and hear that. Ooh, that is rhythmic. Maybe with the snare. Ooh, that is nice. So now we've got this sort of basic groove. You might be thinking like, what now? And that's really where it comes down to filling it out, adding some fills, adding variation. So let's go over exactly how to do that now. So we'll just double this in length, give us a bit more room to play with. And one thing that I do sometimes like to do is get the snare, and then on the, maybe every second bar, add a more powerful snare just to beef up that accent, that note a little bit. So let's try that. Yeah, so that just beefs that up nicely. Because this is kind of an upbeat sort of song, so doing that in that second bar is really nice. Let's do that in the second half as well. That's sounding very nice. Now, a few little perk hits would not go amiss at all, so let's try and get some perk hits in. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I wonder if we can just pull this in directly to here. You'll notice that the swing isn't quite right on this. So what we're going to do is just quantize this to the 8th note, like we've got, like that. And we're just going to manually move this back so it matches up a little bit more with what we've actually played in ourselves. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And maybe we even reverse this so it runs into the notes we want to get. This is all about experimenting, really. What if this is aligned with this? Oh, that's it. That's it. That sounds awesome. Let's just get it a little bit better aligned here by zooming in. And obviously with drums, it is really all about the timing. So spending a little bit of extra time to get that timing just right is well worth doing. So I'm thinking maybe leave this as it originally was. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe leave that as it originally was because you want that sort of like stronger sound on the first beat. So let's do that. That's a nice little sort of rhythmic thing. So you can see what I was hearing there was the attack, and the first part of the sound of that main, louder bit. You can see the waveform is much bigger here, was sticking out too much. So I just put a compressor on with a fast attack to squish that down and make that fit in with the groove a little bit more. That's a really nice little texture. So like I said, this kind of bit of the beat making process, the drum programming process, is all about trial and error. Just like, try out a load of sounds. Maybe let's get one more perk sound in as well, just to go along with it. So I'm hearing that could be a nice layer on like one snare possibly. There's like an additional layer. And that could be sort of like a lower sound. So let's try and get those in somewhere. And what if we actually reverse this? Oh, and you see that just lifts us into the next part of it so perfectly. That is nice. That is so nice. I'm super happy with that. So like I said, just literally, I'm just trying random things and hoping they work. And then this is more like a traditional perk. I think there's enough going on at the very end, but maybe we can add in a couple of bits sort of earlier. Now, that's kind of unorthodox. It's just reinforcing those strong beats, but I do like it because in this sort of genre of R&B, you can get those, you can get more sort of unique drum sounds, more unique programming. So I'm feeling that personally. This is what we started with. This is before. Oh, it's terrible. I literally can't even handle playing any more of that. It's so bad. And this is what we've ended with. Oh, so cold. So cold. So cold. Love that. We've made a pretty swung, soulful, R&B, electro-ish kind of beat today, but all of these principles apply across the board. Play your stuff in, quantize it, humanize it, adjust the velocities, add your ghost notes, and you'll be well on the way to some awesome sounding drums. Okay, I've got one more tip for you guys, but first I just wanted to remind you about my new drum kit Oasis that just dropped. You heard some of the sounds in the video, so you already know how good it sounds. It's got tons of perks, hats, kicks, snares, all handcrafted by me, all run through my analog hardware chain, so these are premium sounds. you can grab that from the link in the description. And also don't forget, my free analog one-shot pack is still available. Hit the link in the description for that as well. Anyway, on with the last tip. And this one is more of a mindset one that I found really helpful to developing my drum programming game. And that is just don't get too precious about it and try a lot of different things, because everyone knows, you know, there's set drum patterns, you've got your backbeats, you've got your snare on the threes, you've got kind of like drill patterns, which are great. They're a great starting point, but do not be afraid to branch out and try something a bit weird and a bit crazy. So a great example of this is I was working on a song with a friend recently that hopefully will drop soon, fingers crossed. But in that one, we were playing it in, we were playing around, it's like a housey beat, and we thought, you know, look, what would happen if we just put every snare that's on the 4 usually on the 8th note after that? And it gave a completely different feel to the groove. Like, is it the usual thing to do? No, absolutely not. But it worked perfectly for the song, and it really drives the groove forward. So what I'm saying is, just don't be afraid to experiment. You know, all the best music really comes about from people understanding what the rules are and what the best practices are, which is what I've tried to give you in this video, and then deliberately breaking those. So, you know, play a really loose style. Don't quantize anything. Let it be really loose. As long as it sounds good to you, it's good. So just go with your gut. Don't be afraid to experiment. Love you guys. Peace.